No. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Let's see. I'll give people a few minutes to join. It's good. No. Volume. Doug, please stop. No volume. Right. You're on camera. No volume. Here's 4 people. Let's see. Prime 3 again today. Good morning. And Rita. I'm just raising my volume a little bit. Everybody hear me? Give me a yes. Well, I'm not seeing a no. Okay, good. So this is for class number 3 of Remake Your Life. And before I start, we're going to talk about the mind today. I want to go back a little bit to we're looking at different levels of creation that we have in our consciousness. So last week we talked about the vital force with breath and how with breathing, you could put things into action. Now, I wonder, good morning, Yvonne. Good morning, Carol. So I was wondering if anyone worked with that's on and had some results. Because I don't want you to get confused on the 2 different levels, because in the end, we're going to put them all in action. Okay, so let's go back and think of what we did. We had a 5-point way to use vital force. Do you remember? Okay. Oh, here's Rita. Yes, I used it for my joints, and I seem to have some improvements. Well, that is wonderful. So let's use that first. Today we'll use the second one. Universal health glows in me now. So we're going to do number 1. Let the mind dwell on it and how you might feel that within you. A healthy glow. And then I want you to take and just exhale all the possible breath that you can. And then I want you just to begin to breathe rhythmically, like you normally would. And we want to be contemplating the healthy glow within us and begin to have action of the vital force within us. And number 4 is when we fill ourselves with that feeling of the healthy glow. Good. And are we ready to take that breath and to breathe, having the healthy glow, universal healthy glow in me now? And now receive. Good. For me, I always feel a sense of peace and serenity come over me when I've let go with the breath. And I would assume that's how it's been for you. And we talked about the threefold flame last week, and I wonder how many of you went there. But this is more of the technique I would use to actually put the threefold flame into action. So when you go into the heart, we'll go over it real quickly here. There's three small flames: yellow, pink, and the light blue. First, you imagine bringing the yellow out, connecting it down below your feet, and having a yellow flame in your imagination come all the way up in front of you, bellowing largely. And then you do the same with the pink. Down below your feet, bring that pink, loving energy up over your right side, way up high. And the same thing with your left side. That light blue down below your feet, up and above you. Good. So, what we're going to do now is stretch the little yellow flame in your heart to match the large flame. And this is what we're going to use our breath for. So, as we exhale, feel the difference? That flame just became alive. So now we'll do the same thing with the pink, giving it vital force from our breath. Texture changes. Now behind the left shoulder with power, light blue. Now, can you feel the texture and the difference that made versus just imaginary? Good. Now you walk in life with the threefold flame around you. And at first you have to work with it, but once it has an understanding, and with it just a simple thought and a breath, it manifests. You've changed your life, number one, just from doing that. So let's see here. Carol felt a greater calm. Good. So that's what we learned last week with breath. So now we're going to learn about the mind. All right? We're going to have a second piece to the mind because I felt it was a little intense to contemplate. And especially when we go to use it, I want to have clarity because we are learning tools to remake our life correctly. So before we even start out today, I want you to think of a specific part of life that you'd like to add something new to it. We're not going to determine that just right now, but before I had you write about how you wanted life to change. Well, today let's pick a slice of it. And when we go to do some practicing, we're going to do it just about that area. All right? So what we learned about vital force is its movement. And we're talking about the different movements that as we live, we're not conscious of thinking about them. But so far we have breath, and now we're going to talk about life movement. The mind is in the normal state static, meaning it doesn't have movement, and there's only one way that it does, and that's when you begin to have thought. Think about that. Mind, when you do get to where it's quiet. It's just still. But when you begin to give it thought, it begins to have movement. And thought becomes the vehicle for the mind. Always learning something new, right? We are able to convert it into a very profound mind through the vibration of thought. That's where the movement comes from, is thoughts are vibrational. Some higher, some lower. And that tends to be where we get in trouble. You know, sometimes in the negative thought, it's not helping us feel better. When you have a lot of negative thoughts, you usually go down in the doldrums. So we're going to want to be aware of how are we placing action into the mind. Okay? The vibration of the mind and thought is of finer texture than even wireless waves, if you can imagine that. Because a lot of people have no sense of them in development as you grow and you are a higher particle spin of light. You can sense those waves of thought, but normal person doesn't even grasp it. But here we are wanting to become manifestors, right? So we must begin to understand that there is a wave of consciousness, this fine wave of thought, of vibration, that's actually manifesting for us. Is that clear for everybody? Okay. So we have a few people on. Welcome to you. Let's see. Once again, Prime 3, Rita, Yvonne, and Carol. And yes, everything is always in a state of continual motion or vibration. So let's say even at the time when the mind is still, it is still vibrating at what's called stillness, but stillness, it says itself, if you've been there, has such a fine, high perfectionism to it. It's beyond, it's an allness. So it's always in motion. And it's that vibration that prevents it and separates it from being solid or liquid, gas or light or sound. So let me reiterate that. There are the 5 different ways for vibration to show itself: as a solid, as a liquid, as gas, air, light, and sound. The truth about our mind is it governs our physical activities. We even have the autonomic nervous system that follows the body and gives us our control of our subconscious and our subjective mind. You know, the autonomic nervous system is what creates our heart beating. It makes sure that we're moving and alive. All these things are a part of our life force. The part of our life is about our thoughts, happens to be our real life. So you are what you think. So I want you to contemplate what all the kind of thoughts you had yesterday and what you're doing is creating next week. For years, I heard my teachers say that. And it took me a while, I just understood that's a law, so it is. But when you start to bring it into you, into how you live, and stop and begin to take the time to, well, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking? And begin to understand their production or their destruction makes a difference in what life brings you. Our power to think is infinite in both destructive and positive actions. So let's say if someone has had an argument with a friend and can't stop thinking about all the things that friend did to them and all this and all that, that life breath, that life movement is going to detour and become less and less and less effective in your life. If instead you begin to forgive yourself and understand that all that your friend's mirroring is within you, and begin to do the Ho'oponopono and forgive it within yourself, then you're released from that dogma and allowed to have happiness and joy and freedom and not dwell so much outside of yourself. This is about maintaining within yourself I'm sorry, there's something going on outside. I'll try to make my sound louder. I don't know if you hear it or not. All right. All righty. So, we've had profound thinkers in our world: Einstein, Edison, Tesla. We see Tesla cars everywhere. Do they have a different mind than us? And in reality, the answer is no. They've just found the way to make better use of the movement of that action. They don't have doubt. And in my classes, we talk about doubt a lot, because when we think of the relationship with God, and uh, is God really there, and is the light there for us, and are we really protected? There can be a lot of doubt about that. Well, truth is, doubt is only existent on the third dimension. That's why masters do not really come themselves to the third dimension, hardly ever, because doubt exists here, and even they would fall prey to it. Merlin himself will talk about it. So we need to move our consciousness up above the third dimension to not be infected by the word doubt, and have it um, throw us off a curve of what we're trying to manifest. So doubt is created by humans who wanted to create something to blame. So doubt and blame are going to guide you a lot to your issues as you work on your journey. So as breath was a vital force, now we have the thought is a vital force in manifestation. It can bring an object from invisible into being visible in our objective world. How would that happen? Well, let's say you're working on creating a job. It's taking something that at this moment may not even have any embodiment to begin to give movement of your thought, and giving that empowerment to have a phone ring and say, you're hired. That's how it takes something from being invisible to be real. And this is the life principle of every atom. It is through the matter of thought as to how each atom of your being chooses and does live. You can take that same thought to healing and to your physical body. The body itself does re-heal itself every 7 years. But in the quickening with the light that we have coming in through the streams, through pure thought, like I healed my hand. My therapist said it would never move again. And when I got away from the therapist who thought that, in 2 weeks, my hand was making all kinds of movements. It would never make a fist, because she didn't believe it. And I really, even myself, didn't realize what was going on in her head until she started to speak it towards the end. So we can make things worse than they are, so therefore we can make things a greater empowerment than they are. So the thought is a broadcasting system with infinite ability to operate throughout the ethers of the universe. They receive and they radiate thoughts and ideas. So, a real integral part of this is our zeal point. Most people don't know where the zeal point is. That is the back of the third eye. Third eye, we visual. The zeal point is this huge broadcasting system out through the universe. And it's also the receiver for those who receive all kinds of information, either from the ancients or from some of the friendly ETs. That's all coming from a huge, it's like some people have antennas, some people have microscopes that are working there in the back of their zeal point to make the life and the lives they help work with become even more powerful. When the positive mind is used, things happen, things change. Positive action is seen. And when it's not, you're going to see negative action. And you can probably each sit there and recognize that within yourself, how you do each of these things. Fear will bring not success. Optimism will promote physical and mental ability to resolve all problems. Now, did we actually realize that the ability to resolve all problems lied within ourselves? No, I don't think so until it comes up in your life. Or it's something that you innately have worked through enough that it's there. But that's the piece about the mind that we want to know, that the mental ability with the mind to resolve problems has never and will never leave. Unfortunately, the one piece is for individuals today that they must use discipline and mental training and work with the process to unite consecutive thought and the impressions that come around the mind into action. We have to be aware, and our best friend, the ego, is part of that person creating these situations that we don't really want in our own life. And it has its own agenda. And what we do is we listen to our thoughts, we become aware of the ego and how it places those things that we really don't want, like being a victim is a huge one, or being afraid, or I'm not good enough. There's a slew of thoughts that if we could begin to understand they come from the ego and bring that ego into your heart and give it something to do to research love or whatever, and give you the control, which is this sense, using the word control is a good thing to have the mind do the work you want it to. So, what do you think would happen if you just spent a whole hour doing positive thought? Well, I used to work in sales, and when I went in, the first thing I do every day is write 10 times, I will sell 3 things today. I will sell 3 things today. I will sell 3 things. And I did it enough, sometimes 10, sometimes 20, till I knew it was true. And I was number one salesperson in the country. And it's because I use spiritual action of the law. What you think is who you are. So, as much as we can all hear that, oh, yeah, that's great. What it's saying is if you are not a disciple and put work to it, time and effort, and regroom the mind to a new way of thinking, it's going to be to the depth that works for you. Okay? Your knowledge of the light, your capacity to surrender to it, is going to demonstrate the use of your mind. Also, people around you, have you ever felt someone and go, yeah, not the kind of person I want to be around? Because thoughts tend to fill the field. And you can begin to know, wow, there's a lot of light here. I'm drawn to that. So the clearer you allow your mind to be, uh, the more it's going to be easier for you to manifest in your life, if that makes sense to you. Do I have any comments going on over here? No. All right. I'll keep going. Your mind is prepared to live out spiritual laws, and it's willing to wait a long time for that to come. Because even if it's doing negative, it is doing the action of spiritual law. So you see, the choice is yours. What are you putting in the computer to see what comes out. Garbage in, then garbage out. Light in, light out. I know that's a very simple way to put it, but it is the truth. Know that mind precedes the matter. What does that say? So before anything can manifest, the mind has to think it. So, yes, there's a power in having the mind become quiet. Like I said, there's a higher consciousness uh, frequency that emits. But you are manifesting from that. You are manifesting a light of the pure essence. It's not that you are not. Don't mistake that for that it's emptiness. Our thought life happens to be our real life. And take a minute and really grasp that. Because we're all wanting to know not just the real life, but the really real life. Most of what you look at and we think of as reality is this classroom. It isn't what it is all really about. So as you take moments and you focus on the mind, uh, you're going to find a new experience of who you are and power. And I'm not saying power like the man who makes a lot of money is a powerful man. No, I'm talking about that blue ray in your threefold flame that's about divine power. That's there always for you. That's always loving you, supporting you, being there for you. So when we start to empower all the actions within ourselves, that we can take a breath with a thought and put it into the universe and feel higher, happy within ourselves. This too we can do now with thought. Give the motion through our thought out into the universe. And what we're going to eventually do is bring them all together and think of how that will be when we go to remake our life. So I hope that has brought up some questions for you. So I want you to take a note every day of your observation of yourself, which always must come from neutrality. What did your mind think about today? Where have I put that energy of that movement of thought into the universe? And then, really lovingly, is that working towards what you want in your life? So, it's going to give you an opportunity to change the action, the force, the vital force of the mind, and how thought moves through the energy of the form to become manifested. So let me see if I have any questions. I practice it daily and I'm always thankful. Thank you, Prime 3, for mentioning it. Anybody else have any questions they'd like me to answer? So our next lesson is going to be the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconsciousness mind, and how we can or cannot work with all three of them as we're developing this awareness to really know what is it going to mean for me to give thought, expression, movement, breath to something and generate a new life. All right, let me check one more time. Carol's sending me a heart. Greater calm. So let's go back one thing to where we started, the thought. Today we're going to make it a thought. I am universal health glows in me now. We're not going to give it breath. We're going to think it. Universal health glows through me now. And through the master's work, they always say you repeat things 3 times. 3, 6, or 9 times. So let's do 6. Universal health glows through me now. Universal health glows in 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 me now. And feel your response. Now, my mind went quiet. What happened to yours? But I felt a lot of glowing energy. What did you all think? What were some of the questions that I gave you in the beginning? Let me take my mind back. Um, we were going to take one piece of your life and start to work with thought. That's what I want you to try and work with this week. Instead of doing the breath, you can still do that, but at a different time now add what is, and take time and look at what is the mind doing? What is it thinking? How is that showing up in my world? You see? And Carol's saying, yes, her mind quieted too, and she felt more energy. Felt some energy moving through me. Good. Very good. I mean, it's all pieces that we might not ever think of, but by knowing them, it's going to change your world, literally, because it will begin to become your action from a depth versus just thinking. Think of all the time you spent thinking and not giving it the extra action to manifest. We're wanting to become manifestors. And I used to do mastermind a lot with a group of people. And what we learned, and in their course, they say, I surrender. I cannot do anything without the energy of God. So, what we're doing is we're wanting to bring God's energy into this thought and support it manifesting us to whatever it is the goal is. Okay, does that make sense to you? Oh, I mean, what kinds of questions did you have when you started using this technique? Is that what I already read? Oh, no. So, oh, you can't think of what to ask. Well, let's think about prosperity. So maybe you're someone who's made the same amount of money for quite a long time. So, what that's about is raising consciousness of prosperity. So, you can do that through thought. I earn up at 10 grand every month, but it must come from a place that you have a knowing is possible. And possible, I speak that not that you know where it's coming from, because that would delete it, but you trust in what God can bring you is infinite. So I can think of what I earn now and know that I earn 10,000 more in my world and that it would come effortlessly and easily now. Remember, all these things, it's saying the word now afterwards. The universe doesn't know the future, it knows now. And if they see that you don't have it now, then they will hurry to support in getting it in action for you. The problem with that sometimes is our own interference in not truly believing. And that's why we're having this course, is to try to give you the understanding that either you're not breathing it or you're not thinking it, and that's where we are so far. So as you do observations for the self, is $5,000 better? Or is it not money at all? Maybe it's happiness. Maybe it's a new car, whatever it is, or a new job. Where are you about it? Because anywhere you find that there's a or resistance or I don't know, which is doubt, You must work on that, clear that energy so that when you go to do your manifesting, there is a pure thought. Does that help, Rita? Perfect. Well, I thank you for joining. Um, and for all those who will watch after we all gather, I hope you enjoy it. You can send me a question in the comments if you like. So we're going to continue this course as long as people show up. And it'll be Wednesdays. We'll make it 11. Maybe it's too early for some people. So we'll make the new Wednesday time 11, like Tuesday. Tuesday, angel readings, still next Tuesday will happen. Friday at 4 Eastern time will be people at the heart mantra. Come on and let's all manifest together. Heart, love, and all for the universe. It's getting more powerful every week. And take time and read. I have a new community page event for my trip going to Mount Shasta. We're going to try and get there this year. So it's been a couple years since we've been there. And if you go, you'll love it and it'll change your life. And it takes a good year or 2 years to actually transform at the quickened pace you'll be on from being in Shasta. It's a very healing experience. So keep looking at the community page. Anything new happens, that's where you're going to find out first. But thank you from my heart, through my breath, through my mind, for all of you coming and join me, and I hope you enjoy. And let's change our lives. Thank you.